I remember the sound of the ice more than the taste of the whiskey. Just a soft clink against the glass as I sat on the couch. TV off. Half-finished drinks sweating on the coffee table, while I pretended to scroll through emails I'd already read twice. I'm not the jealous type. 32, architect. I live in blueprints and elevations, not drama. For 7 years, Amanda and I were the stable couple in every room we walked into. At least that's what I believed right up until about 3 weeks ago. That's when the glitches started. Her phone, which used to lie face up everywhere, suddenly needed a 6-digit code for work security. Texts she'd smile at and then flip the screen over when I walked past. Late client meetings with a digital marketing team that apparently did all its best thinking after 9 p.m. credit card charges at restaurants we'd never been to together, lingerie from stores I'd never heard of, and Uber receipts that didn't match the stories. I tried to file it all under stress and coincidence. That's what you do when you trust someone. You bend reality as far as you can before it snaps. 2 days ago, it finally snapped. I called a family attorney. Then I called a private investigator, Mark Daniels. Quiet guy, straight to the point. I gave him Amanda's schedule, her car, the usual spots. I told him I hoped he'd find nothing. I didn't believe it when I said it. Tonight, she stepped out of our bedroom in a tight red dress I'd never seen before. Not date night nice. Different. Shorter, sharper. Hair fully done like she was heading to a photo shoot. Makeup heavier than she'd worn even at our friends' weddings. And the perfume, stronger, sweeter, expensive. I know what I buy. This wasn't mine. She walked into the living room scrolling her phone, not even looking up at first. I'm going out tonight, okay? She said, like she was asking if I could pass the remote. Something in me went completely still. No shouting, no shaking hands. Just this weird cold clarity sliding into place. Like when a building model finally locks on the foundation and you know it's not moving. I set my phone down, stood up, and looked at her. If you walk out that door, I said, voice steady, we're done. No discussion later. No working it out. You leave like that, the marriage is over. She blinked, then laughed. Actually, I laughed. Ryan, don't be dramatic, she said, rolling her eyes. It's just a night out. I need to blow off some steam. You're being weird lately. 7 years together, and that's what my line in the sand got. An eye roll and a throwaway line. I held her gaze. I'm not being dramatic. I'm telling you exactly what this is. She shook her head, grabbed her clutch, and brushed past me. I didn't move. The front door opened, the scent of that perfume filling the entryway for a second. Then the door clicked shut. A few moments later, her engine turned over, tires on the concrete, fading down the street. I stood there until the sound was gone. Then I picked up my phone, scrolled to Mark's number, and hit the phone. He answered on the second ring. Daniels. It's Ryan Bennett, I said. My voice still sounded calm, like I was talking about a construction delay. She just left. Tight red dress, heavy makeup. I want everything documented tonight. Everywhere she goes, everyone she's with, everything. Got it, he said. I'm on her. Good, I replied. Because when she comes back, this won't be about suspicion anymore. I'm done guessing. I hung up, set the phone back on the table, and finally took the last sip of my warm whiskey. The line was drawn. She'd already crossed it. People think affairs show up like a car crash. Loud, obvious, impossible to miss. That's not how it went for me. Mine came in glitches. First, it was her phone. Amanda used to leave it everywhere, kitchen counter, nightstand, couch armrest, with messages lighting up for both of us to see. Then one day, I walked into the bedroom and watched her thumb fly across the screen, then flip it face down like it burned her hand. New security policy at work, she said when I asked about the new passcode. Client data and all that. Reasonable. I design buildings around security protocols. I let it pass. Then came the late calls. She started stepping into the hallway after 10 p.m. Voice low. Yeah, totally, we can push the campaign. And, I'll send the deck first thing. I'd be in bed listening to the same 3 phrases over and over, like she was acting out a script. When I asked who was calling that late, she shrugged. Clients, babe. You said you wanted me to grow my accounts. Again, reasonable if you want it to be. I live in detail. My firm survives because I see the tiny things that sink projects if you ignore them. So when I saw a receipt from a new steakhouse downtown in the shared email, from our joint card, I noticed. For digit bill, 2 cocktails with the same line item. A date, a time, and a night I remembered perfectly, because I was home drafting until midnight and she said she was at a brainstorm in the office. Team dinner, she said when I showed her the charge. She didn't flinch. You'd hate that place anyway. Tiny portions. I wanted to believe her, so I did, for about a week. Then I found the hotel charges. Small boutique place downtown. Not a chain. Not somewhere you accidentally end up because it's close to the office. Room, bar tab, room again. All during the weeks she told me she was drowning in meetings at work. The crack opened wider when I decided to surprise her with lunch. I drove over with her favorite tie, walked into the lobby of her agency, and told the receptionist I was there for Amanda Bennett. The receptionist smiled politely and said, "She left for the day about an hour ago." I checked my watch. 1:15 p.m. That night, Amanda told me she'd been in back-to-back meetings till 5. Said it with her shoes kicked off, like nothing was off. Something in me shifted then. It stopped feeling like insecurity and started feeling like evidence. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I went to my office, closed the door, and opened my laptop. I searched Dallas Family Attorney and picked the one whose site didn't look like a billboard, David Carter. We met 2 days later in a quiet conference room that smelled like coffee and toner. I laid everything out. The phone, the calls, the receipts, the hotel, the lies that didn't line up. He didn't look surprised. "You're not crazy," he said. "You're documenting." We talked about assets, the house, the firm, what could be considered marital property, what I needed to protect. He told me calmly that if I suspected an affair, proof mattered. Not just he said, she said, proof. Get a PI, he said. Don't confront her until you have something she can't explain away. So I did. I walked out of his office, sat in my truck, and called Mark Daniels, name from a quiet referral list David kept. Mark didn't sell drama. He asked for her photo, her car, her schedule, and the places she claimed to be. I sent him everything. I remember ending that call and staring at my reflection in the dark screen of my phone. That was the first moment I admitted it to myself. This wasn't a rough patch. This wasn't miscommunication. My marriage just didn't feel real anymore, and I was done guessing which parts were. After Amanda's taillights disappeared, the house went dead quiet. No TV, no music, just the hum of the fridge and the occasional car passing outside. I picked up the glass, finished the last melted inch of whiskey, and set it in the sink. Habit made me rinse it. Muscle memory doing what I always did in a life that wasn't the same anymore. I went back to the couch and put my phone on the coffee table, screen up. Mark had said he'd keep me updated. I believed him more than I believed my own wife at that point. I opened my email instead of pacing. There they were, Mark's earlier reports. Hotel check-ins. Blurry photos of Amanda from behind or in profile, all from just far enough away that you couldn't clearly make out the guy with her. Timestamps that matched perfectly with the video calls and client dinners she'd claimed. I scrolled through them slowly. She laughed with her head tilted back. Her walking into a lobby. Her leaning against a bar, phone in hand, smiling at someone just out of frame. Nothing explicit. Nothing you could slam on the table and end a debate with. Just enough to show a pattern if you wanted to see it. I wanted to see it now. The minutes stretched. 10, 20, 40, an hour. I checked the time, then the front door, like she might suddenly walk back in and tell me this was all some ridiculous misunderstanding, that I'd overreacted about the red dress. I almost wished she would, just so I could look her in the eye and feel whether there was anything left to respect. Another hour. The longer I waited, the quieter it got inside me. The panic that most guys describe? I didn't feel that. I felt something tighter. A mix of dread and relief. Dread because I knew what Mark was probably seeing. Relief because the guessing game was almost over. When the phone finally buzzed, I didn't jump. I just reached for it. Unknown number, but I knew who it was. I answered, "Yeah, it's Mark," he said. City noise in the background, muffled music. "She's at a place downtown. Crimson Lounge. Corner booth. She's not alone." My hand tightened around the phone. "Who is he?" There was a short pause, like he was deciding how to say it. "Logan Price," he said. "The guy from your office. You two came out of a meeting together last week. Same guy. They're close. Hands on her. Kissing. No doubt what this is. Logan. My junior partner. The one I'd been mentoring, bringing into client meetings, trusting with contracts and designs I'd spent years building." The eager smile in the conference room. The way Amanda laughed a little too freely at his jokes at team dinners. All of it snapped into a new shape. "Got it," I said. "You want me to keep shooting?" Mark asked. "Yeah," I replied, voice level. "Document everything. I'm on my way." I hung up, stared at the dark TV screen in front of me, and let it hit. This wasn't just my wife choosing someone else. This was betrayal sitting at my table at work, smiling across blueprints I'd drawn. I picked up my keys and my phone. If my marriage was going to end, I was going to watch it die with my own eyes. I didn't rush. I walked back to the kitchen, set my phone on the counter, and took a slow breath. Anger was there, sure, but under it was something cleaner: decision. This wasn't going to be me storming in like some drunk in a reality show. This was going to be the end of a contract with witnesses. I picked the phone back up and called David Carter. He answered like he was expecting bad news. "Ryan, she's at the Crimson Lounge downtown," I said. "With Logan. My PI's there. I want you there too, with a separation agreement. And I want this documented." He didn't waste time on sympathy. "Okay, text me the address. Meet you out front at 20. I grabbed the folder he'd given me from our first meeting, the one with notes on assets, accounts, and a draft outline of terms. It had felt theoretical when he handed it to me. It didn't anymore. The drive across Dallas at night felt like moving through a tunnel. Street lights, brake lights, empty intersections. David slid into the passenger seat halfway through the route, having had his assistant email over updated paperwork to his tablet. "You sure you want to do this tonight?" he asked. "I'm done living in maybe," I said. "We do it clean. No yelling. No threats. You keep me from giving her anything she can use against me later." He nodded. "Then you let me talk if you feel yourself heating up. Remember, calm wins." I replayed everything as we drove. Logan cracking jokes in meetings, Amanda defending him when he made mistakes, that extra smile she'd throw his way like he'd just said something brilliant. All of it clicked into place now, not as random moments, but as setup. We pulled up near the Crimson Lounge, all red neon and smoked glass. Mark was leaning against his car across the street, camera hanging from a strap around his neck, expression neutral. He walked up as we got out. "They're still inside," he said. "Corner booth in the back. They're not hiding anything." He flipped his camera around and scrolled through the last few shots on the digital display. There she was, Amanda in the red dress, head thrown back laughing. Logan's hand on her waist. His mouth is close to her ear. Champagne on the table, her fingers on his wrist like it was the most natural thing in the world. No blurry maybe. No, you're misreading that. Reality. Clear, framed, time-stamped. I felt my jaw tighten, then relax. "Good," I said quietly. "That's enough." Before we moved, David put a hand on my arm. "Last reminder," he said. "No touching, no threats, no raised voice if you can help it. You're there to state facts and walk. Let the evidence talk." I looked past him at the dark glass of the lounge, my reflection faint over the red glow. "I'm not here to fight," I said. "I'm here to end it." Crimson Lounge was dim and loud in all the usual ways. Low jazz, clinking glasses, people pretending their lives were more interesting than they were for a few hours. We walked in single file. David first, then me, then Mark a half step behind with his camera bag. The hostess glanced up. David gave her a polite nod and kept going. We didn't sit. We weren't there to stay. Mark had already told me back corner, right side. I didn't hesitate. I could feel my heart beating, but my hands were steady. Every step felt like approaching a job site you already know failed inspection. You're not surprised, you're just there to write it up. I saw her before she saw me. Amanda was in that red dress, legs crossed, leaning toward Logan. His arm rested along the back of the booth, fingers just brushing her shoulder. There were 2 champagne flutes on the table, one half empty, one in her hand. She laughed at something he said, head tilted, hand on his chest. Then her eyes shifted just enough to catch me standing at the edge of the table. The laughter died mid-breath. Logan turned, confusion first, then recognition. He straightened, hand dropping from her shoulder like it had been burned. "Ryan," Amanda said, voice thin. "What are you?" I cut her off with a look and spoke clearly, loud enough for the nearby tables to hear without shouting. "Let me introduce everyone," I said. "Amanda Bennett, my wife." I turned to Logan. "Logan Price, my junior partner." I stepped aside slightly. "Mark Daniels, my private investigator. And this is David Carter, my divorce attorney." The word landed hard. A couple at the next table went silent. Logan's face went pale. "Come on, man," Logan started, hands half raised. "This isn't. You're done at my firm," I said. "Effective now. I'll be going through every contract you touch, every bid, every file. Because here's the thing, Logan, sleeping with my wife is one kind of betrayal. Selling access to my projects to competitors, that's another." His eyes widened. "That's not." "Don't lie," I said calmly. "I have emails, bank traces, phone records. You weren't just screwing my wife, you were screwing my business." Mark quietly lifted his camera and started shooting. No flash, just silent clicks, framing the scene. Amanda's voice cracked. "Ryan, please, can we not do this here? Can we just talk? The 2 of us?" David slid a folder onto the table, papers clipped, pen attached. "These are separation documents," he said evenly. "Prepared in anticipation of tonight, given the evidence already collected." I looked straight at her. "When you walked out of the house in that dress, after I told you what that meant, you made your choice. I'm just respecting it." Tears filled her eyes. "It's not that simple." "It is," I said. "You lied. Repeatedly. You crossed the line. There's no version where I pretend this didn't happen." I shifted my gaze to Logan. "You'll be hearing from our corporate counsel regarding breach of contract and misappropriation of trade secrets. Don't contact my clients. Don't contact my staff. You're done." He opened his mouth, then closed it. The bar felt like it was holding its breath. Amanda reached for my hand. I stepped back. "Don't do that," I said quietly. "Not anymore." I let the silence hang, let the reality of it settle on them. Then I turned to David. "We're done here." We walked out the way we came. Me first this time, David at my side, Mark still taking his last few photos over his shoulder. Behind us I could hear Amanda crying, Logan muttering something I didn't care to decipher. I didn't shout. I didn't break anything. I didn't look back. I left with my attorney, my investigator, my evidence, and my dignity intact. After that night, everything got very quiet and very precise. No more guessing. No more reading into texts or glances. Just signatures, filings, meetings. It stopped feeling like a love story and started feeling like what it was, a cleanup job. Amanda tried calling at first. Long texts, walls of apologies. I didn't block her. I just forwarded everything to David. Emotion was her arena. Paperwork is mine now. The evidence was stacked, organized, and time-stamped. Hotel receipts, photos, messages Mark pulled from backup data. She knew it. Her attorney knew it. There was no angle where she came out looking like anything but what she was. A cheating spouse who helped a guy siphon off my time, my trust, and my resources. Under that pressure, she folded fast. David walked me through every meeting like it was another project review. We weren't cruel, just firm. Assets divided according to his plan, not her guilt. The hotel rooms, dinners, gifts for Logan, those came out of her share. Money she diverted from our joint accounts for her little double life got accounted for and pulled back. She signed the separation agreement. Then the divorce papers. No big courtroom drama, no last-minute speeches. Just ink on paper. Chapter closed. On the professional side, things got colder. Logan's betrayal went deeper than the affair. David and a corporate attorney dug in emails, call logs, side payments. Turned out he'd been feeding information to a competing firm for extra cash. Draft concepts. Bid numbers. Enough for them to undercut us, just enough to hurt. We filed suit. Breach of contract, misappropriation of trade secrets. The Architects Association opened an ethics investigation once the complaint hit. His shiny, promising career label started peeling off in chunks. Amanda didn't skate clean either. Word gets around. The agency she worked for decided not to renew her contract. Officially, it was restructuring. Unofficially, nobody wants their clients' data anywhere near someone tied to a trade secrets mess. Mutual friends made their choices. Some went quiet. Some texted me privately. Didn't know. I'm with you. Nobody pressed me to hear her side. There wasn't another side that mattered. Meanwhile, I did what I actually know how to do, build. I tightened security at the firm. Access levels, NDAs, digital trails on who opened what and when. I promoted the people who'd shown loyalty when things were shaky. I sat across from clients, laid out what happened in clean, simple terms, and made it clear the problem had been removed. No drama, no oversharing. Just, there was a breach. It's been handled. Your projects are safe. The firm didn't collapse. It steadied. Then it started to grow again. Slower, more controlled, but stronger. I lost a wife and a junior partner. I kept my company, my future, and my self-respect. That trade made more sense every day. 9 months later, the night of the red dress felt like something that happened to a different man. I was between meetings downtown, suit jacket off, sleeves rolled, sitting at a small table in a cafe that smelled like burnt espresso and fresh pastries. Laptop open, site plans on the screen, my mind on steel beams and load paths, not on her. I was taking a sip of coffee when I saw her. Amanda, by the window, alone. Shorter hair now, not the polished waves she used to spend an hour on. Simple blouse, jeans, no statement jewelry, no red dress. She looked smaller. Not physically, just in presence. Like somebody had turned down the brightness. For a second, I thought about leaving before she noticed. Clean exit, no scene. Then I stopped myself. I'd already walked through fire with this woman. I wasn't going to dodge eye contact in a coffee shop. I stayed put. Eventually, she looked up. Our eyes met and I watched the recognition hit. Her shoulders tensed, then sagged. She hesitated, then stood and walked over, hands wrapped around her cup like she needed something to hold. "Hey," she said quietly. "Ryan." I closed my laptop. "Amanda." Up close, the changes were clearer. Tired eyes. A little more strain around the mouth. Less of that effortless confidence she used to carry when she walked into a room on my arm. "I've been meaning to reach out," she started. "But I didn't know if you'd even answer." "You were right about that," I said. My voice was calm. No edge, no softness. Just straight. She winced slightly, then nodded. "I know I ruined everything," she said. "No theatrics, just flat. I'm sorry. For all of it. For lying. For Logan. For putting your business at risk. You didn't deserve that." I looked at her for a long second. The old version of me would have been shaking, running through every detail in my head, wanting answers. This version just felt still. "I agree," I said. "I didn't deserve it." She swallowed. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I needed you to know I know what I did. I've had a lot of time to sit with it." "I'm sure you have," I said. "But here's the thing. Whether you're sorry or not doesn't change what I had to do. It doesn't change what happened. It doesn't change who you chose to be back then." She blinked hard, then asked, "Are you seeing someone?" There it was, the curiosity, the fishing for where she sat in my story now. "Doesn't really matter," I said. "My life isn't your business anymore." A flicker of pain crossed her face, but she nodded. "That's fair." For a moment, we just stood there in the low murmur of the cafe. Two people who used to share a bed and a future, now just sharing a square of floor. I hope you're doing well, she added, almost in a whisper. I am, I said. Took work, but I am. And it was true. I felt it as I said it. No anger, no desire to hurt her back, no secret wish for her to be worse off. Just distance, like talking about a project I'd finished a long time ago. She looked like she wanted to say more, but nothing came out. Finally, she just nodded again. Okay, I'll let you get back to your day. Take care, Amanda, I said. I picked up my jacket, slung my bag over my shoulder, and walked out. I didn't look back at the window. On the sidewalk, the air felt clearer, lighter. That was the moment I realized the story with her was actually over. Not because a judge stamped a decree, not because the papers were signed, but because I didn't feel anything pulling me backward. She wasn't my unfinished business anymore. She was just a closed chapter, and I was already in the next one. Rebuilding doesn't happen in a montage. It's not gym shots, new cars, and revenge dates. The small things that stop hurting. It started with my phone going quiet at night, and me realizing I didn't miss the constant checking. I went back to things I'd shelved. Poker nights with guys I hadn't seen in months, Saturday basketball, grabbing a beer after work just because I felt like it, not because I was avoiding a tense house. I stopped introducing myself in my own head as the guy whose wife cheated. I was just Ryan again, architect, business owner, man who'd been hit hard and kept standing. The firm landed a big residential project, a hillside development that actually challenged me. Long days in the office, real design problems to solve, reminded me why I'd bled for this company in the first place. Clients weren't looking at me with pity anymore. They were asking for my ideas. Eventually, I started dating again. Not with a mission. No, I'll show her. Just slowly. Coffee, not candlelit dinners. Conversation, not confessionals. I was honest about being divorced. I didn't drag Amanda's name into it. If someone asked what happened, I said, trust got broken. I left. That was enough. Then I met Megan Riley. Structural engineer. Direct. Sharp. Steady. No games. If she was annoyed, she said so. If she liked something, she said that too. We met on a project, clashed over a load-bearing wall, then ended up having lunch to keep arguing about it. Turned into more. We took it slow. No rushing, no moving in, no building a life on top of unanswered questions. I told her the basics of my past, not the play-by-play. She didn't treat me like a victim, and I didn't act like one. Somewhere along the way, I realized the real win wasn't Amanda struggling or Logan getting sued. The win was that I wasn't bitter. I was cautious, sure, wiser, but I hadn't let what they did turn me into a smaller version of myself. I was building again, this time with my eyes open. 1 year after the red dress, I was standing on the terrace of my office, watching the city swallow the sunset. Dallas stretched out in front of me. Traffic crawling, windows lighting up one by one. The buzz of a place that keeps moving no matter who falls apart inside it. My firm's logo was on the door behind me. People inside were working on projects I cared about. The company hadn't just survived. It had grown. Megan stood next to me, shoulder brushing mine, her hand resting easy in my hand. No performance, no tension, just presence. What's going on in that head of yours? She asked. I exhaled slowly. A year ago tonight, my ex walked out of our house in a red dress. I said. I told her if she did, it was over. She left anyway. Megan was quiet. She didn't rush to fill the space. That one decision, I went on, changed everything. Not her cheating, that was already happening. Me drawing the line. I'm actually sticking to it. I thought about all of it, the PI, the bar, the paperwork, the empty house, the cafe 9 months later. It all boiled down to a few simple truths. Here's what I figured out, I said. Broken trust isn't something you fix with nicer words. Once someone shows you what they're willing to do behind your back, you either accept that, or you don't. There's no middle ground that doesn't eat you alive. Megan squeezed my hand. You don't seem eaten alive, she said. Because I chose myself, I replied. I chose my dignity over history. I chose to walk away instead of negotiating with someone who'd already decided I wasn't enough. I didn't regret the confrontation. I didn't regret the divorce. I didn't regret keeping my voice level in that bar while my life was splitting in two. The red dress, the perfume, the sound of that door closing, those are just markers now. Not open wounds. Not anchors. I'm not the man who got cheated on. I'm the man who saw it, stood up and walked out with his head high, and then built a life that wasn't defined by their betrayal, but by my response to it.